This conference will now be recorded.
You look like you're nice and warm.
Yeah,
Have you been out working?
I have outside, and then we went to South Carolina for a weekend.
Why would anybody do that?
I know, yeah, and it was.
We're in South Carolina.
My friend lives in Beaufort.
Oh.
This conference will now be recorded.
The meeting room is muted. Just to let you guys know, I can't hear anything. You're muted. Thank you.
Hey, thank you, John. How's that? Can you hear us now?
You're all set. Good to go.
Okay, thank you very much, John. Okay, let's try this again. Since Chris isn't here, he's not feeling well. Obviously, the guy in charge doesn't know what the heck he's doing, so. It is now 7:48 seconds. This is the meeting of the Communications Committee for Tuesday, July 15th. We do have a quorum. For the purposes of transcription, we're gonna go around the room and say our names so we can hopefully recognize our voices in the transcript.
Point of order. Some of us are not anxious to have our voices recognized.
You don't have a choice, I'm afraid.
I do. I don't have to, I could talk without saying my name, right?
No, because it's a public meeting.
You need my consent.
You give it as part, it's no different than if we were taking the minutes down.
So I guess the concern was the data being owned by Otter and being used for other things.
If you have a concern about that, I think then you're gonna have to step out of the meeting. Because this is how we're transcribing it. It's video, the video's out in public, the audio recording's out in public.
And that's fine. So the question is, what does Otter do with our information and our data?
We don't completely know that. I'll admit we don't know.
And that's one of the concerns that we in our long-term planning group have been wondering about. And so, I know I'm throwing a little wrench in this, but it's important to start talking about these things. Mm-hmm. All public meetings that have artificial intelligence at them have to have the consent of the attendees. If I don't give that consent, does that mean you can't use AI?
Or does that mean you don't want to participate?
No, it means I want to participate without AI. That's what I'm saying. So this is the question we're running up against. And I'm just bringing it up here right now because that's what's going to happen at all the meetings if you start using Otter AI.
So as both the clerk and as somebody working on the long-term AI thinking,
I would recommend for now, we don't need to say our names to Otter AI. We can just proceed like we did the last meeting with the recording, but not identify ourselves. But all of us were recorded last time. Are we okay with all of us being recorded this time?
I have no problem being recorded. The question, I'm raising a question that we're gonna have to deal with down the line, and I think that's what I'm doing at this stage.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I don't have a problem identifying myself, so I'm gonna put it this way. How about we go around?
Yeah.
If you want to abstain, you abstain.
Okay.
If you don't have a problem with that, okay. So we're gonna start out with, my name is Ed Camo. I am the vice chair of the committee, and in Chris's absence, I am running the meeting tonight.
Mark Spider.
Abstain.
Emily LaRoche.
I'll abstain too.
Okay. Just for purposes, we also have two guests on. I guess the same question to you guys. Do you want to identify yourselves or not for purposes of the recording?
Nicole Miner, Select Board.
John Ritter, Select Board.
Okay, thank you very much. Oh, and we have one more. You just missed the discussion, Kate. For purposes of the Otter AI transcription, we are identifying ourselves, so we can identify our voices with transcription. Several members are raising concern because of the question on who owns that data. So they did not want to identify themselves for the purposes of the recording. So it's your choice whether you want to state your name or not for the purposes of Otter AI.
Kate Nato.
Okay. Okay. So with that out of the way, next thing on the agenda is approval of minutes. May 29th, 2025, those are the ones that I did and sent back around. I got minor corrections on those. And then we have the ones from June 24th that Allegra took and sent around. Is there any discussion on approval of the minutes? Somebody want to make a motion on accepting the minutes?
So moved.
Second.
Mark makes a move.
Can we approve them separately? I wasn't at that first meeting.
Okay, that's probably a good point. So let's do them separately. Somebody move to accept the minutes of May 29th, 2025.
So moved.
Second.
Seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
One abstention.
Abstain.
One abstention.
Fine.
Well, Kate, you're ex officio, so you don't
Oh.
vote on it anyways. All right, so,
So 500, right?
and then the minutes of June 24th. I guess, do we need a new motion?
Sure, why
So
not?
moved.
So
Second.
moved. Second. All those in favor of the June 24th minutes being accepted?
Aye.
Aye.
Do I vote on that as the person who created the minutes?
Yes.
Okay.
500. Okay. Good. Education training reports from committee members. We put this in there just so we can document at the end of the year the kind of education or training we're doing related to our activities. Has anybody done anything over the past month?
Yes.
So that's me. What'd you do, Mark?
A few things. Doesn't pertain directly to the work of this committee, although one of my concerns is that I hope that we can facilitate the communication of community finances and municipal finances to our residents more effectively than we have in the past. So I'm trying to educate myself. I come out of finance, but municipal finance is a completely different story, as many of you know. So I'm reading a guide to financial management for town officials. That is a primer for Massachusetts municipal financial management. It's produced by the Division of Local Services of the Department of Revenue. Also, I've gone through the first training module produced by MMA, Foundations in Municipal Finance, and I plan to complete the set of modules going forward as I have time to do that. Also on finances, I've read the state audit report on the town's financial management that was solicited by the Select Board. The report is entitled Financial Management Review, Town of Belchertown, December 2021. The audit was done by the Division of Local Services of the Massachusetts Department of Revenue. I suspect it's the town's most recent financial audit, although I'm not sure of that. Many good suggestions for strengthening the town's finances were provided in that report. I don't know how many were adopted or executed by the select board. And that's just an outstanding question that I hope to pursue. I'm going to leave it there. But I am very interested in that audit, and certainly would like to know from the select board whether other audits have been done since 21 or are planned. In higher education, we audit our financial statements every year.
Wouldn't Jill be able to give you that information also?
Sorry,
Jill, would she be able to give you that information also?
she would be able to give me that.
Okay.
Well,
And finally,
oh, sorry.
okay. Finally, I've read through the book Generative AI and ChatGPT for Beginners by Modern Mind Publications. Now, what's interesting about that book is that it was clear that it was written by ChatGPT. There is no author. So it's great writing about yourself and the things you do, and that's what they did.
It's an autobiography.
Yeah, exactly.
So just before you go too far, Mark,
Yeah.
there was a DLS report done, for 2025.
I'm sorry.
There is a DLS, review that was done for 2025.
All right, thank you.
Tell you the name of it, but my computer froze.
And there are, so getting back to the book, there are certain lessons which I think we should talk about, discuss. We don't have to do that now, but I have mentioned, noted a few, and I hope throughout the meeting we may get to discuss them at some point.
Okay,
That's all I've got.
you've been a busy beaver, that's for sure. Jeez.
Likes to read himself to sleep.
Okay, who wants to top that? Yeah.
No,
Anybody got anything else?
No education.
Thank you, Mark.
Well,
Very commendable, thank you. Okay, so moving on to item number 4, AI in Belchertown Government. I'll kick that off a little bit here. I'm continuing to research, gathering information, also continuing to talk to people. I have a meeting set up for Thursday with the UMass Public Policy Institute, I believe it is, that is working on AI in everything, it sounds like. And this is one of the areas that they are not working on, but interested in working on, is AI in municipal government. So it's kind of a fortuitous conversation I started with them. So we're doing an in-person meeting with 2 people from that office on Thursday. So I'll have more to report there. I am continuing to read and research and learn more about AI. I did post it to, I'm now a member of the Massachusetts Municipal Communicators listserv, because I sent them a request, MMA a request. They said, okay, would you like to be a member of the listserv? I'm like, sure. So I posted it there. I got 2 responses, one of which was Nantucket, and they sent me their draft policy on using AI in government. Since this is draft, I don't want to share it. I don't want to put it out in the public domain right now, since it is a draft. So I'll be taking a look at that and drawing what we can out of it. It is very bare bones.
is it possible that you could share it with your long-term committee, Allegra and I?
No, because then it goes into circulation.
So if we wanted to find it, we would have to make our own request, is what you're saying? Okay,
Because as soon as I share it beyond me, then it becomes a work product for
okay,
the committee. That would be-
okay.
And, you know, I told them that I would not do
I
that.
mean, since how we were working on long-term policy, we'll just see if we can get our hands on it.
I don't know, I mean, I want to honor their request to not put it in circulation, since it is a draft. Oddly enough, it's not labeled as such, which I think they should have, but, you know, stand draft all across it. So that's where I stand on AI and Belchertown government. How about you guys? What do you guys have to offer?
We named ourselves We are the Wooden Shoe Subcommittee of the Communications Committee on AI.
Okay,
You couldn't have chosen two more dystopian people to think about this process. So we've had a couple of meetings, and basically we come up with nothing but questions, which is where we should be at this stage of the game.
Right.
We have some concerns, and Allegra will talk about those a little bit.
Yeah, so we have a couple concerns, or a few concerns that fall into two categories, and then we have a recommendation on technology management stuff. So I'll talk about the concerns. I'll talk about it briefly. These are not things we're gonna figure out here, but these are things that we thought should be thought about further. So one category is privacy concerns. So if the town is using AI software to do things, whoever owns that company has immediate access to town data and potentially a lot of town data that might be public, but it's now giving it to a company that has it all in one place potentially. And what that company could choose to do with that data, we don't know exactly what we're letting them do with it and how they could use it. So
Hence my question.
right, and so that's like sort of town level data. And then we also thought there might be privacy concerns for individual people. And the identifying yourself for the Otter AI recording is an example where if I identify myself in this recording and we're uploading it to this artificial intelligence software, it now knows my name. It knows a lot about me and how I talk, and the content of what I say and how unintelligent it might be at times or whatever. But it's like directly getting data from me that I do not put on the internet otherwise in a way that you can find so easily, like a company could find. So it's just a concern that,
Right. So the question is it using it to sell other product? Is it using it to train the Otter AI to better serve its purpose? We don't know. And these are some of the concerns we're talking about.
Right. So those are privacy things. And then the other category is what I was calling authority. You can think of it as like power. So these are a whole list of things. So I'll go through them quick, just 4 things. So one is the idea of de-skilling. If you have your town labor, your workforce, your human employees using AI, is there a chance that they are losing the cognitive capability to do certain tasks? There is a great piece many years ago about the 2009 Buffalo plane crash, about autopilot on planes. And so this is a great way to think of the tragic consequences. The autopilot on planes didn't cause pilots to lose their technical skill, but it did cause pilots to lose their ability to reason through mechanical failure issues, which seemed to be an issue with that crash. So not quite the same level of tragedy that we could cause here by using AI, but just the idea of de-skilling is an issue. A major issue, I think we've talked about this before, is the idea of making sure there's some fact checking or analysis checking of whatever is generated by AI. And so ideally, you would want to have the person reviewing the AI generated text be able to check it for facts or check its analysis. So an example might be you have AI software that can do statistical manipulations of data. I would not review that because I'm not a statistician. So you'd want somebody to review it who actually has the intelligence to see if the AI is doing it correctly, if we're to use it in that way. So that's another area.
An example of that is lawyers who use AI in court and the AI comes up with the wrong legal data.
Right.
So
you'd want to be able to make sure the human's in charge and can fact check. Another area is just transparency. And I think this also has come up before, but the idea that we might require that we disclose when AI is being used. So, and maybe we would have some sort of minimal disclosure statement, which I might put on my minutes because I did use AI to generate those minutes. So something like, this document was written by so-and-so with the assistance of this software, this AI software specifically named, and then reviewed by so-and-so for accuracy. And the last point here is, again, this is kind of loose stuff, but the last thing is just, if we start using AI for stuff, you could imagine it being used for a lot of stuff. And we might want to build in ways where we value human decision-making and not whatever the machine tells us to do, because the machine can obviously do complex things now. And so this all comes under authority concerns.
Okay, now back to one of the things you brought up, because I've had discussions with my neighbor who's head of IT for UMass. And we had a long conversation about integrating AI into town government. And his point, which I thoroughly agree with, and you brought it up, is there's two ways we can use AI. We can use it externally, and that's how people are using it now. It searches the web, comes back with information, stuff like that. Or we can give it permission to our internal data and say, analyze, analyze something internally.
Analyze the need for trucks for the town of Belchertown over a 10-year span, just as an example.
Yes and no, but it's using internal data.
Yeah, well, that would be
It's not going
data.
out on the web to get this data.
Yeah.
That he thoroughly, strongly encouraged us to not do. Okay. Well, going out to the web and saying, write me an article on blah, 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 using publicly available data is one thing, but using internal data like HR or financial information or stuff like that, that would normally not be, a lot of people would be privy to. He said, no, time out, don't do that. He strongly discourages that. He's turned it off at UMass, doesn't allow that to happen. So that kind of gets back to what you had talked about earlier, is that I think that's the big caution that we should do is anything internal, no. And actually that's something Kevin would have to turn on, well, depending on his security protocols. Theoretically right now, if I go out on the web using OpenChat GPT and say, okay, I want to know how many sick days somebody took at town of Belchertown, and that's not publicly available, it should not be able to get that information because there should be a firewall stopping that from happening. So those are the two things. The one thing they really caution us on, internally, external. Now, one thing to keep in mind in all our discussions and all this work on AI, people are using it. People are going to be using it. So we need to develop those guardrails and guidance on how to use it because they're using it now.
Well, this is to our point, or to your point, and we need to talk to Steve because best practices say that if you're using Copilot, you need to identify that you use Copilot, and everybody in town has access to Copilot. But we need to find out if Steve is okay with that. We need to talk to Steve to find out what he thinks AI programs actually is after, and how they will, with what department or how he wants to use them. And then after that, we certainly need to talk to Kevin to figure out how this is all going to work within his intranet, if you will.
Yeah. Well, I think intranet is a big no. That's what we were just talking about. It's a no. It can't be on the internet. Can't be used internally.
Well, they're going to be using it internally through departments, so I don't know if that's intranet or internet, but it's.
That would be internet, not intranet.
Well, intranet is the town system.
Right.
And so if I'm talking to the Department of Public Works from Finnerty House, am I intra or enter? I'm intra.
Right.
Okay, that's all I'm saying.
Right, but if I do an OpenChat GPT inquiry, it should only go external to the internet,
Right.
not to the
Right,
internet.
and I wasn't even talking about that, to be honest with you.
So one thing that a lot of people use AI for, which again, I did with minutes. So let me just say real quick how I made the minutes. Because I've been encouraged to experiment with this. I don't really otherwise use AI, or I haven't been, so it's good to learn. So I used Perplexity. I gave it my notes that I took in the meeting, which were pretty detailed. And I gave it the transcript that Otter AI generated, which was okay. It had some audio quality issues and people were not identified by name. It was great. It gave me, and I also gave it a template for how to put, how the minutes should be laid out. It was great. It probably saved me at least 90 minutes of work, maybe 2 hours, because I take a while to type up minutes and make my thoughts concise. I think what was really helpful is that I had very detailed notes. So I was able to get a lot from my notes. I went into that for a reason, which is one common use of AI technology is you upload documents into it. And so if you're thinking about that there should be a policy that documents that are not otherwise public should never go into AI, that would have to be definitely a rule that is developed.
Mhm.
Because otherwise, you know, like, for example, when we do our end of year report, again, this is all public stuff, like all of our
Right.
committee stuff. But other reports might not rely on just public record.
Mhm.
And so you might be feeding in data or feeding in past meeting notes that weren't public to create a document. And then that's going to the AI company.
So some very short-term recommendations might be, and I'm just thinking, until we have our act together and figure this out, it might be worthwhile to give guidance that, yeah, you don't upload any documents that aren't in the public domain in there. They may have personally identifiable stuff in there, you know, that might, no financial information.
Yeah.
Anything that the general public doesn't have access to, you shouldn't be uploading in there to help you do your work. So,
Well, I'm sure there are guidelines now in place for using that kind of information, but AI adds another level of leakage.
Right.
Yeah.
right, I mean, yeah, maybe there's a parallel, maybe there's a policy that says, if you work in the treasurer's office, you don't share it outside the treasurer's office, you know?
Yeah.
Same sort of thing applies to AI, you don't share it to AI. So that'd be a worthwhile question to pose to Steve, and also a recommendation to make to Steve.
Right.
That in the short term, here's the first guardrail that we've come up with in our research.
So, yeah, Allegra and I are going to try to set up a meeting with Steve and to talk over these concerns.
Mhm.
And then after that, we'll get a hold of Kevin and see how he feels about all this also.
Mhm.
And we'll continue plugging on. One of the things we want to talk about with Steve and with Kevin is how do we acquire these apps? Best practices seem to indicate that the public should have input into this or be aware of the fact that it's happening and how it may or may not affect them, especially things like surveillance AI things.
Well, I think, you know, but that's going down a real long road there, and everything you know, if you look at that thing from Michigan, that report from Michigan that
That's where we're getting a lot of our
Yeah.
information, yeah.
they're saying that's like a big no right now, you know, law enforcement, surveillance, all that sort of stuff is like, don't
Well,
even
it was
put
an
out.
example as opposed to something we're actually going to do.
Yeah.
So if that comes down the road, then there should be at least one public meeting where it's discussed with the public.
I mean,
And then, you know, what determines what AI we buy or rent? What function is it actually filling would be important.
Well, I think it's also important too to identify the different roles of AI. So like, there's the AI from the meeting transcription, there's the chat AI, there's, you know, the Copilot AI, but also like a lot of Adobe products and camera software nowadays uses AI,
Yeah.
whether or not you realize it. So by simply telling them, take the trash can out of this picture, you're using AI. And that's a totally different level of using AI versus using AI for minutes or using AI to write an article or to create, you know, statistics about something. So I think like that's kind of like where we probably need to start, is identifying the different types of AI, because you're gonna have a different comfort level depending on how they're being used. And you don't want a blanket statement saying everything used with AI needs to have a statement, because like, would we wanna, like, every image we put out where we manipulated something, do we wanna put something saying this was manipulated by AI? Because that's entirely different than a photo manipulated by AI versus looking at an AI picture.
and keep in mind, spell check is now AI.
Yeah.
I mean, it's being integrated into everything, you know, and you bring up a good point, at what level, you know, does it matter?
Yeah.
That, you know, we say yes or no to this stuff, because, you know,
Yeah.
Siri is AI.
But certainly at chat GPT level, definitely.
And that's what they call generative AI. That
Yeah.
seems to be the big distinction there. So once you reach the level of generative AI,
Yeah.
that's where the real questions come into play on a lot of this stuff here.
Wow. I didn't realize. So AI is in all of this, my editing, processing and all of this stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, all the stuff you're doing at BCTV, definitely.
Well,
It's
damn.
crazy.
Yeah. So and keep in mind, it's here, it's now.
Yeah.
You know, we have to best figure out how we're going to use it. We can't say don't use it because it's being used. We're all
Well,
using it every
I'm
day.
gonna say even inadvertently, unknowingly, something. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, like I say, spell check is now AI. Notice how it's predictive text in there? you know, when you're writing an email or something like that.
Can they get better predictive radar?
I know, it's always wrong.
Anyway,
Okay, anything else on AI? I mean, I know we can talk forever on this whole stuff.
that's pretty much what we went over.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, thank you very much on that. Okay, creating a digital role in committees. I think we might kind of skip over this because Chris is really working on this.
Mhm.
The basic idea is that having each committee have someone responsible for maintaining the website, their page on the website, taking minutes, teaching them how to use them to take minutes, agenda, you know, all the electronic sort of stuff, having somebody specifically responsible. But I think we'll skip over that for now because that's something Chris is working on and involved. Item 6, communication plan. I know Chris was sending it around.
He was-
Mark?
No, he was supposed to send it to someone in the front office, I thought.
I think Steve was supposed to.
Steve, he was supposed to send it to Steve.
Yeah.
Okay, let's back burner that one too, and since he's not here on that one, find out where it stands. Okay. Enhanced town warrant, I spoke with, had a meeting with Steve on that. He's all on board with the idea of enhancing the town warrant. For Nicole and John, in case you're not up to speed on this, what we've been suggesting for some time is using the model from Ware. In their town warrant, they include how all the committees voted, you know, select board, finance, voted on the issues, including a paragraph explaining in plain English what the item is. So the idea is that when you go to the town meeting, you've got in one packet something that's a lot more clarity on what each warrant article is about. Now, Steve, he writes that paragraph anyways for the select board. He writes it up anyways. So it'll be like, okay, that's not gonna be a major leap to include that in there. I had a good conversation with the town clerk and the town manager in Ware, and they said this was the best thing they ever did. It helps tremendously, streamlines town meeting tremendously, cuts down a lot of the debate and discussion because the questions are answered up front. And what they're really working on is trying to encourage people to do it electronically, so to cut down on the printing. And they have the same problem that we do. You know, they print up a whole bunch, and at the end of the night, it all gets recycled because you never know, you know, what the prediction. But they said, this is great. They said they've been doing it for a number of years now, and they really encourage us to go down this road. It has helped them tremendously.
Did they talk about their transition problems or not?
There
There were no transition
were not
problems.
transition problems. I mean, the biggest one was getting everybody on board and the logistics of doing it, you know,
Okay.
getting that information in there. So one of the things I told Steve is I would come up with a template, you know, based on, and other towns are doing it too. Ware is kind of the gold standard. Other towns are including information in various ways. Some towns put in a paragraph. Other towns put in how the boards voted. Ware does it all in one document right there. They said, again, the biggest thing was just logistics of getting everybody on board, getting information in there. So one of the biggest things we'll have to do is come up with a timeline and say, okay, finance, you have to vote by, you know, I'm just picking a date, let's say this town meeting's on May 1. Then we need the information from the finance, you know, a month in advance on that. Just so they know they need to do their votes. Select board needs to do their votes to have this information included. Can't be the week before. That's what
How soon is the goal to have it out before town meeting for people?
That's what we have to do is work backwards and
Okay,
figure out.
so
what-
we first have to establish a goal in town. So the
Well, what-
select board needs to say, we wanna have this so people can see it a week before the meeting, 2 weeks, like.
Well, that's what we have to work backwards on, figuring we can get that information. Now, one thing I forgot to mention, what they do is as soon as the select board approves the warrant articles, they post them. So the warrant articles are posted, so that way they meet that requirement of having them posted in advance. This stuff is icing on the cake that we're providing. They've already met their legal requirement of posting the warrant articles. This is enhanced information for the town meeting, so people come in better at the town meeting.
So Andy, in addition to that, which I think is a great idea, but in addition to that, what about the global picture? What about the holistic picture of the institution's finances, of the town's finances, so that people understand why we're executing some of these warrants or not? Right.
I think that's another discussion there, you know, it's a bigger picture, I mean, and it's a good point. Because, you know, we get those, I'm really amazed at town meeting that millions of dollars are voted on without debate.
Yeah,
But then we'll discuss a $10,000 item
Yeah.
in detail, you know?
Because you can handle $10,000.
Right, yeah.
Yeah.
I always find that interesting there, but no, I mean, it's excellent. And I think a lot of it comes down to education up in advance. I mean, we certainly got a lot of it this year because of 2.5. But it was all last minute on the fly sort of stuff. I mean, I would love to see something like that in advance, more information given out there, why we're doing what we're doing, sort of thing.
So you're gonna have to work with finance and Steve and who else to try to set the timeline on this.
That's a whole nother project.
Yeah, oh, yeah, yeah.
You know,
But, yeah.
yeah. And Mark, feel free.
And
I
somewhere there's a whole printer timeline also that has to be taken care of.
Right.
Well, that's a separate topic too, because a lot of these documents, they print in-house. So if you're sending them out to a printer, then you need to build that time in, although, Amherst Copy was able to like turn around what we needed them to within days.
Okay.
I mean,
Yeah.
they're very good.
That's down the road, I
But
understand.
also, it's part of that whole timeline that we need to build in.
Yeah.
So they're not burning out a printer trying to print this stuff.
Yeah.
And the other conversation too was, again, getting to that pile at town meeting that winds up getting recycled, is a possibility of cutting down on that and having it on demand so that when you walk in and you check in, you say, yes, I want a hard copy.
Mhm.
Here you go, Mark.
Mhm.
Here you go, Lou. If you don't ask for it, you don't get it. And also having copiers there that can produce it as needed, right there.
Mm.
Steve had talked to Brian, and Brian said, yeah, we can, that's not a problem, we got copiers, you know, we can generate it. So that if indeed you did run out, you can sit there and spit out a whole bunch more right then and there.
Well, and that way you don't print too many too, to make it not worthwhile.
I mean, the goal is to stop that mountain of recyclable stuff at the end, you know, as best we can. Are we ever gonna hit it perfectly? No. It's never gonna happen.
Yeah.
But if we can cut down on it, I think that'd be really good, because there was a lot left over much issues.
Could definitely imagine a check-in process where, yeah, you either say you want to print a copy or there's a QR code, you scan it, you have the digital there for the meeting, if you haven't already got it on your phone.
I think it helps too, because it seems like a lot of people pick up the warrants and the motions and people don't know the difference between the two.
Yes.
And then they don't know where they need to be looking and everybody's just grabbing all the paperwork because they're
Yes.
walking in and they don't know what they need. So if you're asking them, you check them in.
I mean, I'll be honest with you, I like having the hard copy. I do. I mean, I'm a computer guy, but I still like having that hard copy in front of me, you know? But also, if all this is available in advance, I could choose to print it out at home and write notes on it and all this.
You know, we're talking how many pages and everything.
But no, it's a very good conversation. Steve's very much on board with it. I have some work that I have to do on that to keep that going. But yeah, no, and I think that'll help a lot next year. I think, oh, and also there's a possibility of a town meeting this winter, sometime in December, a special town meeting,
Yeah.
which we may test drive this
Oh,
at
okay.
that point in time.
Then that would have a few articles on it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Good chance to kind of work the bugs out on it and
Yeah.
see how it works and things like that. So, anything else on enhanced town warrant? Any questions? Nope. Town newsletter. You're up.
All right. Town newsletter, it's going well. It is July 15th, so we are right in between two issues. As of around noon today, we had 399 subscribers. We got a bunch in the last month from the Sentinel, which ran it 2 weeks in a row. And a lot of people signed up because they saw it in the Sentinel. For the July issue, our open rate, the percentage of people who opened the email, 77%.
Wow.
26% of people interacted with it, clicked on it. I mean, other people read it too, but those are the people who clicked on links. We hope people read it. And that just passing this along, especially for Kate, you know, you can look in constant contact about what links are clicked the most. And so the highest number went for the notifications on the town website, signing up for emergency notifications. And the second highest was for the community services survey. Emily and I have been, just like, we met recently a few days ago to talk a little bit more about the work process. We're paying more attention to how much time it takes to assemble. And Emily just created a new template in Constant Contact. And so we kind of are, every month it's going a little faster because we're able to set up a little bit more in advance.
Yeah, you know what's coming.
Yeah, we're getting used to how people submit. So that's going well. And then just a general idea we had was, every month, it's also just been, it's easy to get every month 15 or so different departments or bodies send us an announcement. It's a lot of the same departments, which is totally fine, but we were thinking in a, maybe later in the summer or fall, doing more outreach, especially to committees or departments that haven't shared anything yet, to remind them that this is there if they want to send announcements through.
I would suggest August, September, because by September, most committees are really cranked up.
Yeah, that's
Back
right.
end.
Yeah, there's, like we're only meeting once a month. Some committees don't even meet at all during the summer.
Yeah.
And so many people are on vacation in the town right now that
That's
we might as well wait till after Labor Day to reach out to those you haven't heard from.
Sounds great.
And we're starting to hear more noise from committees too, in terms of they want to improve their presence on the website,
Synergy.
things are happening.
You're getting synergy.
Things are happening, so which is good, which is excellent, really. We have some committees that have not put anything up at all, that are all of a sudden like, oh gee, we'd like to be up there too. Right on, good for you.
Does the town logo become part of the newsletter?
It is not,
I ask it only because it exists.
That's a good point. Maybe throw it in the footer.
yeah, in the footer if you go. The town seal is also never in the newsletter, but I think in some original things we're playing around with, we had put it, so.
Yeah, we have to make sure if we ever use the town seal that Terry approves the use of it first.
Right.
So we can definitely throw the logo in the footer with no.
Would that have to be every issue, or would it just be like, here's the template?
You could just throw it, I would say throw it in the footer and just make it so it hyperlinks to the website, so if somebody clicked on it, they're just landing on the website.
Okay, we'll play around with it. I know that the town logo colors, like we did our newsletter colors to match the website,
Which are changing.
which are, right. So I guess we might modify like our background color in the newsletter so it.
And we have all black and all white versions of the logo too, so I can send you all of those logo files.
Great.
And then you guys can just play with whatever works best with your layout. I can also send you all the hex codes for all of our new colors and everything else too.
Great.
Who's the keeper of the logo? Is that you?
That's me.
So if anybody wants to use it, they have to get permission from you specifically?
So it's, when Chris gets why don't we cover that when we get to the branding part?
Okay. All right. So anything else on town newsletter?
There's just one comment that I had that we can talk about it when Chris is back, because I know Chris is a little more involved in this. But we were talking about like, where do you draw the line with who you promote and who you allow to submit stuff? And we were talking a little bit at our meeting the other day that we kind of want to like keep moving forward with that discussion, just in case someone does start reaching out and asking us. Like the church is doing the tag sale on the common on the 23rd. Can we promote that? Because it's technically like a fundraiser, but it's church related. So does religion cross the line? And even like the townwide tag sale, it's a fundraiser for a nonprofit, but it's raising money. So where does the line draw?
Yeah.
Is this something you want to send off to legal?
Well, I think we started these conversations a while ago. It's been a couple of months, right?
Yeah.
Since we had the conversation, and Lisa was involved with that as well too, putting together the creative economy calendars and everything else as well. I think that's a conversation that we need to get everybody back in the room for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Because I know the cultural committee was in a meeting recently with the creative economy and Steve about like all the different events and everything else happening in town, and where do we draw the line, what do we promote, what's the cutoff when people turn in information. They talked about creating forms and stuff. I wasn't in that meeting, Lisa just caught me up later. So yeah, we should let me make a note to get another meeting for all of us
That'd be great.
to get that going again.
Yeah,
Isn't it really amazing when we come up with a good idea for something, how it all just kind of escalates, and all these unintended consequences that, which is good,
Well, I'm sure as like fall and holidays start coming in too, there's probably gonna be more of that stuff going on, so there might be more discussion in terms of people trying to email us and be like, hey, can we promote this, or even
Right.
the town social media, the Belchertown yard sale, like tags us in every single post they make, which they haven't asked yet for us to share it, but for when that does happen, it's like, what do I respond with?
Right,
And it is already on the town calendar, so it is shared by the town. And we have, through the newsletter, we have shared fundraisers for nonprofits. There was some drag on the common, maybe last month or something. But I think there's actually multiple lines to draw, and so like a further line is the case that we had thought of before was the Shattuck Sugar House event, which is free, but there's ways to pay money to a private business if you go there. So do we share something like that was one of the examples.
Well, I guess
So do
the same thing could be set for Food Truck Fridays, right? Like you can go to Food Truck Fridays for free, but if you want to eat, you have to pay.
Right, well, and what is it, the farmer's market, same thing.
Yeah.
the fair, all that,
Yeah,
Right.
fair.
So I think some of these things we can clearly delineate that's fine. But like if you're advertising, you're like Thursday night pasta special at an Italian restaurant through the newsletter, maybe that's definitely not okay for a reason that's the only thing you're going to purchase that. Anyway, another meeting would be great to like try to push it forward with multiple people.
Is that on paper right now? What is allowed and disallowed?
It is on like a notes document that has yet to like really be circulated and made.
It's not a brainstorming document.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
We had one meeting, we made a whole bunch of notes about it, and then we said we would circle back. I think we met like shortly before town meeting too.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
it's been a while.
and I've raised this issue before, but I'll raise it again, and that is the issue of our town economy. And so, for example, could a union advertise in the paper? Could a group of contractors who do a particular thing, could they advertise?
Right.
Why not? If it would help the town economy, which desperately needs it. So I hope there'll be a conversation about this, and I hope the right people will be in the room.
I mean, one of the things to look at too is how other towns do it. We can't be the first one to be faced with this question,
Yeah,
So it might be good to look at what other towns do in newsletter.
Yeah.
And said, okay, how did you handle this sort of stuff,
Mhm.
Yeah.
An official town newsletter advertising private businesses, real question.
Oh, I mean, I don't think we should.
I know, but I mean, that's the question that was thrown on the table.
I'm asking that question.
I don't think we
Yeah.
should.
I'm asking it because of our economic position right
Yeah.
now.
So I have information about that and
Mhm.
to fill in with that, but I'm gonna wait till we get to the website section, so we don't
Okay.
veer too far off the different topics.
So anything else on town news?
Again, I have more information for later.
No, but great job, guys. I mean, a 77 open rate, that's like
It's
huge.
great.
That's absolutely
well,
huge.
especially as the numbers grow of like
Yeah.
almost 400 people now, that's amazing.
Another brief discussion on the topic.
Okay, item number 9, belchtown.org. You're up.
Belchertown.org, so I was really hoping to have the updated website look for everyone to show you for this meeting. I was promised to have it for Thursday last week. I don't have it. So I
This is all being done by Civic Plus, right?
It's being done by Civic Plus. We had to pay a nominal fee for it, which did come out of the IT budget. They're being faced with being short-staffed and summer vacations and all that stuff. So they promised by the end of this week, so we shall see. So like a lot of things have kind of been on hold, going forward with the summer months and this, updating the branding on it. So as Ed mentioned earlier, we're looking at bringing a lot more committees into the website and giving access and creating pages. And some committees have like external websites that like we're linking off of from there that they're looking to come back into the fold with us, they've been spending money that they don't necessarily need to spend, or they don't have the editing capabilities that they want. So that's happening with the website, and we're planning a meeting for later in August to sit down with the library and the senior center and the rec department. And it was CPC that came to us recently, as in this week recently, to get added back into the website. But then, like, I had a meeting last week with Energy and Sustainability, and I trained them on how to use the website. But then today, I spent a lot of time starting to work on our website, putting in the metadata for pages. So we have like tons of pages that are created that don't have any metadata. So there's no descriptions, there's no keywords, there's none of that stuff. So I started going through that stuff and working on it. And at the same time, I had reached out to Civic Plus because they have a best practices for using your website, right? And I said, is this the most current document? I had one from like 23. And they had most recently updated for May of 25, so it's super fresh. And I started going through that, and it's all about bringing your website into compliance for the ADA stuff coming forward and everything else. And one of the big things with that is how you're setting up information on the pages and everything else. And it's really getting into the little details, like how you use AM and PM, and if you say for, .00 or 4 PM. If you say noon, if you say 12 PM, if you say 12 AM, all that stuff has to be put into writing, and it all has to be made standard across our website, which means every single person using the website, whether they're an employee of the town or a volunteer, even if they're a volunteer within this new role that Chris is thinking about, as the digital person, how are we going to ensure that everyone does it exactly the same?
You're not, you're gonna have to review it.
And that's something that we kept coming back with conversations that Chris and I have been having with Steve, is who's reviewing it? Kate doesn't have time to review it. How is this gonna work? And like the more I was reading the Civic Plus stuff, the more I was like, yeah, we obviously have to do this stuff. And then I started like poking around on our different department pages, and like we're so not consistent about how things are. And then I'm thinking like, we're gonna be working with these other departments, bringing them into the fold. And here we just gave Energy and Sustainability, the keys to the door to get in and do whatever they want to their page, but that doesn't fall in line with this. So I got a little indigestion about it recently, kind of just working through it. So those are conversations that I'm gonna have to have with Steve going forward, and with Chris and Ed as we meet with Steve and have these conversations about the website as a whole. And some of them can be wrapped into the branding guidelines, and we can say, you always have to do PM this way, you always write your phone numbers this way. Like I spent a day last week, well, it wasn't a day, but a couple hours, going through all the phone numbers on our website, formatting them the same way.
Is this so that your phone can recognize it as a phone number and make a call?
It's part of it for that, and then the other part of it too is that when screen readers are reading a screen, they read it as a phone number.
I see. Okay, so it is, okay, that makes it more of an
Yes.
accessibility thing. Okay.
And yeah, with the accessibility stuff, like there are certain places you should use an ampersand, but then you shouldn't use ampersands in other places. So it's about knowing and being able to distinguish between where to use them and where not to use them.
So you're actually programming for the reader.
Yeah, in the end, that's essentially what it's doing, is
Yeah.
programming it for the reader. So that's a big chunk of it. So like a lot of the stuff we've been talking about with the ADA and getting the website ready has been like concerns about like training people on, creating PDFs the right way, and training people how to put in alt text for images and stuff. And that can be done, and you can train them on that. But then in the end, it's all the little stuff that people will tend to, you're typing and you're used to always writing, PM capitalized, because that's your personal preference, and it's training that out of you if you're doing something for a town.
Lowercase p dot m dot.
No, never use dots.
Never use dots.
No, and you always have to like write out street and avenue and road.
Wow.
You can't like do ST period, because the thing will read it and it'll read ST period and it'll stop like it's the end of the sentence. So we had this problem it was a great example when we were working on the annual report, and I put Terry's page in there to show Steve how it was reading her page, because she had periods after people's middle initials. So it would read Catherine A. NATO. And then it would be like NATO, Lou,
Yeah.
Lorraine, like that was, that person's name was
Yeah.
NATO, Lou, Lorraine.
Yeah, wow.
So a bit of an odd suggestion coming from a member of the Wooden Shoe Subcommittee, but this does seem like something that you could potentially use AI to say, these are the rules, here's all the text on the website, can you find all the things that?
You could potentially use some sort of AI to do a deep search. There's this great tool out there right now called Screaming Frog, and it's a crazy name, right? Totally the opposite of Wooden Shoes. And it's a product out of the UK, and it's a web spider, and you put your web address in, and it spiders your website. It goes through and it literally crawls everything. And it can go and find your typos for you. It can find grammatical errors for you. It can find like hanging pages and abandoned pages and child pages without parents and all of this stuff. It's like a really smart piece of software. And I would imagine like as the technology grows, it's gonna have the ability to, when you do like special searches, to be able to find these things too. We don't own a subscription of it yet. You know, on my wish list, it's not expensive for what it does.
As long as it's not using a British dictionary, we're okay.
No, and you can create your own dictionary to go with it too. So like it won't tell me Belchertown spelled wrong, 99,000 times. So that is, those are my biggest concerns with the website. So yes, we're looking at growing, we're looking at expanding, we're looking at the, this rebranding, revamping of it, but also at the same time, like taking steps back. Cause it feels like a backward step to start spelling out street. You know what I mean? Like.
Well, especially when it's Warren Road Road or Warren Road Street.
And actually, not that that's part of the same conversation, but it is street, not road. And they're working with fixing Google and fixing the street sign.
That document that you mentioned, can you send that to me, please?
Which one, Screaming Frog?
No, the new one from Civic Plus.
Yes. I can send that to everybody so everyone has a copy of it, and that way a library can add it to the minutes as well.
Because I'm looking at also, we have the older document on our website, on our page.
Yep.
On the website that we'll need to update that one.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, early on in this whole website process, we put some website content best practices on our page. And, but we never really promoted it or advertised it for people.
Yeah, and some of the stuff like that we had set up on the website, like with some of the stuff we have in the right-hand columns on departments should actually be in the main body there. And I was like kind of surprised when I read that in Civic Plus's document, and then like I went over to a bunch of other sites in Massachusetts, and I was like, oh, yeah, everyone else is doing it that way. Yeah. One of those moments, right? So regarding the previous question from Mark about businesses and economic development and growth and everything else. So Civic Plus has a module, I figure they have a module for everything, right? Called a resource directory. And it's part of their Civic Engage platform, which allows businesses to get listed on the website. It allows people to find these Belchertown businesses more readily. So it's a conversation that I started with Jen and Steve and Lisa a couple weeks back. Need to do a little bit more research on it, but we're gonna be looking at some point adding that module, hopefully, onto our website. So that way we can start promoting our Belchertown businesses directly on the site.
Good for you. I know.
So I hope that helps some, like, I know that's not gonna fix all of our economic woes, but it'll help show that, Belchertown is business friendly. And that we want to support our small businesses. And we've had a lot of conversations in the past that
I know you.
I'm sure are gonna start recycling again about how to, better promote our businesses in town. So that's a separate conversation. I have nothing else to add on the website unless anyone has a question for me.
Are you gonna, like, when you do add that module, are you gonna promote it on social media, like reach out to Kate or whatever, if you have business, cause like, what if it's not?
So we have there's already a list on our town website of all the businesses in town, it's just, yeah, all the businesses that are registered. How we go about doing it, I'm probably gonna work with other Massachusetts municipal communicators to see how they've implemented something similar to it. And I'm actually going to, our quarterly meeting coming up in August in Foxborough in August. So I'll be able to meet some other people and network and find out more about that.
Not to add to your plate of things to do, but I've been doing a lot of local research on town websites for another project outside of the town. A number of them have about pages in there, which I find really helpful, about the town, sort of
You mean as history or what to do?
more history, the growth of it, about a thumbnail sketch of the town, things like
Yeah,
that.
and that's something we've talked about adding in once we get through all of the rebranding, including the town seal update. And being able to talk about the history of the town seal, what it was then, what it is now, and having a better picture of it.
I think a lot of that content exists elsewhere
It does.
on the website, be just pulling together in one place. The other thing is emergency notifications. How's that going?
So do you wanna talk about that now, or do you wanna wait till we get to that placeholder?
What?
It's
No,
like,
we don't have a placeholder for
it's
that.
placeholder future, oh, that's emergency communication team. So we have 250 people signed up for it currently. My goal is to, obviously beat out the newsletter sometime in the near future. But we also, equally important, have a meeting, we're working on planning a meeting coming up in the next couple of weeks between myself, Steve, John, Kevin, and Kevin to discuss when to use this tool. So it's great, we're gonna get people to sign up, but now we need to use it and define when to use it. So regarding getting more people to sign up, like we're doing outreach with the Sentinel, we have this stuff on social media, we can't use the flashboard for it. I've got some posters, I've got to drive around town and go hang up a whole bunch of posters places.
Why can't you use the flashboard?
Because belchertown.org, for the website, just that part of it is too long to fit on the flashboard.
Because we put the newsletter on the flashboard, but I don't actually know what it flashed, but I thought it flashed the URL. Okay.
See, maybe I thought when I signed up, it was like text this number.
Yeah, you can do a text this number, but you can also do the website, and, we could put the text
I would do
number
the
up.
text.
Okay, that's actually a great idea, I should do that. But also getting people to sign up, we have the senior work-off program for the taxes as approved at the town meeting. And I had a meeting with Joanne about this a couple weeks ago, and as they start bringing people on board for that this fall, this is gonna be one of the programs where people can volunteer for, is working on getting people to sign up for this. So whether they're gonna go and, solicit people at Tractor Supply or Stop and Shop or, canvass neighborhoods or go to farmers markets or something like that. But we will be actively recruiting volunteers to sign up for this platform in the fall.
I brought it up at church on Sunday,
Thank
and I
you.
got a lot of blank faces. Nobody knew about it, nobody heard about it, which was obviously the right place to bring it up, things like that. I don't know if you've reached out to the other churches to ask them to include it in their bulletins.
I have not yet, but I will make myself
I
that.
think that might be a
Yeah.
good strategy there. I'll let you do that.
Do you want me to help print posters out? If you have them?
I have them. I wouldn't mind help putting them out. I have like a short list, so maybe we should like meet first and come up with a list of all the places. And then, whoever wants to help out posters, I haven't because I have posters for this, I have posters for that, I have posters for everything. I'm feeling a little hot and not wanting to get in and out of my car 100 times.
Yeah.
Anything,
Bring Thursday, we'll be there.
anything else on belchertown.org, you or anybody?
Anybody? Going once, twice?
Okay. Branding committee, well, Chris isn't here, and actually, that's kind of defunct now, isn't it?
It is not defunct. So we did not come to an end of service at our last branding meeting. The committee wanted to see through getting the town seal done, as well as some of the other deliverables that were on the list, such as newsletter, business cards, email signatures. But we're also working through all the sub-branding logos for the departments. So certain things need the town seal, the letterhead, the email signature, stuff like that, need the town logo. I checked in with them to see if they had anything, to share with me as an update. Earlier this week, they did not.
This is the town seal.
This is the town seal, correct, and that was with the, Katie at Locality and Danielle. I checked in with them on that. They were both out of pocket last week and didn't get a chance to really work on it, but they said something should be coming through over to Terry later this week. We do have, a branding meeting scheduled for the 30th to kind of look at things and go over things. I will not be at that meeting.
That's supposed to be your kind of final wrap up though, isn't it?
It may or may not be,
You're not-
it's,
okay.
like, I talk to the branding people 4 out of 5 days a week, the people that are working on the stuff.
Yeah.
So I know where the things are, like, I'm having some indigestion again. I love indigestion these days. I didn't have indigestion when I first started. I guess the
Careful
training
what
wheels
you
are
wish for.
falling off. So like I had asked them to make like all the sub-brands logos black, because that's what Steve wanted, and she made them in color and put the words in black. But like, that's something I know I can fix. So like, is the question like, do I go back and be like, oh, you did it wrong, can you fix all 17 of these that you had to do, or do I just suck it up and fix it myself? Like,
Did you pay them a flat fee or is it like a continuous?
no, it's a flat fee.
I would make her do it.
But she's already working off contract.
She's exceeded her contract.
Yeah.
Yes, she has exceeded her contract. So it's, I, kind of looked at it, and a lot of this stuff, like, I'll think about it for 2 or 3 days, and then I'll send it to Chris, because he's on the branding committee and the communications committee, and have him think about it, and then like, I'll send it to Steve, and I'll talk to both of them about it. Even though the 3 of us don't sit down together to discuss it, we'll come to some agreement on moving forward with it. So I just had gotten those logos later today. It was like around 4, I wanna say she sent the email, and I saw them, and I was like, yeah, I just kind of closed it. I was like, I'll come back to that later. But really, at this point, the biggest deliverable is getting the town seal. And
I just want to say that the logo though is getting great favorable response. So yay.
Where do we get our hats?
I don't want a hat, I want a t-shirt. I don't wear hats, yeah. I'll take both.
Yeah, t-shirt, absolutely, yes.
T-shirts.
Anything else on branding?
I don't have anything unless you guys have specific questions for branding.
Okay,
Just-
moving along.
Just to bring up the issue that was raised several meetings ago. So the issue was, we couldn't do anything about the seal, because to do that, we would have to bring it then to a town meeting. Is that still true? So the issues on the seal, the various issues in terms of design will not be fixed in this
So-
round.
She's trying to fix the designs by making it look more hand sketched. So it's really confusing, and in the end, it comes up to Terry to decide whether or not it has to go to town meeting. Because if you look at, the seal that the people originally painted, that's clearly hand drawn and hand sketched, but then if you look at the stamp seal, that she uses to make your official raised documents, that clearly is not hand sketched.
Sure.
So it's basically between Terry and the designer at this point to determine what it needs to be and if it looks close enough. So yes, the committee is still around, but the committee has 0 say in what the town seal is.
We're searching for that nexus where they,
Yeah.
Okay, item 11, wayfinding.
Wayfinding went before the select board and got approved, and there's no money evidently, I was told, so.
Yeah,
I heard there was. What happened?
I sat in on that meeting, and the way Doug Albertson said, no, there's no money from sign manufacturing. That's another grant. He said, so that's what Doug said.
She said that to my notes.
Right, and I think John was concerned, that he would like to see a finished product before.
John or Nicole, you were at the meeting. What's your
Yes,
recollection?
I asked for a prototype sign. There is no money right now. I know Jen said there was some kind of money or grant, so I know Steve was looking into it, just to let you know on the signs. So it's on our priority to get this stuff going.
I mean, I agree with you on the prototype. That just makes a world of sense. Or we manufacture 70 of them, it's a real good idea. So that's where that stands. Anything else on wayfinding? Okay. I got a very positive reception at the select board meeting. Item 12, BCTV manager update. Esther is gone this week, so we'll skip over that. Communication manager update.
I've kind of sprinkled a little bit in here and there on stuff. So I am going to the Communicators Conference in Foxborough in August. Hoping to make some good connections and stuff there. As certain people on the committee have heard in side conversations that we've had, you all are like the talk of the state, the Commonwealth. There are.
Don't let it go to your heads, guys, okay? Don't let it go to your heads.
So there's only 4 other towns in Massachusetts that have a communications committee such as ours. That's it, just 4. And some of them aren't even active, and some of them only have like 2 people on them. So we are like an anomaly. We're amazing.
We're doing things.
We're doing things. And part of this came up with, I was meeting with the folks from UMass Boston on the community services study and about marketing that and getting that out. And they had mentioned that they don't normally do surveys like this, but their bread and butter was ADA. We need to talk about ADA. ADA is great, we need it. And they do ADA for everything from your physical buildings to your digital assets and everything in between. They offer, they'll come out and survey physical sites and tell you what's wrong. They'll survey your website and tell you what's wrong. They can provide training, so everything's at a fee. But they're really good at giving like little bits of advice, if you will. So I had asked them afterwards, hold on, put more in there.
Circle back.
So while we were talking about the website, and I was asking them questions about, ADA compliance on the website, getting my free soundbite during this meeting, and I mentioned that I had a communications committee, because they're like, who's updating your website? I was like, oh, well, my communications committee does a lot of heavy lifting. We do our newsletter, and they're coming up with a communications plan, and this and that. And they're like, what do you mean you have a communications committee? Never heard of such a thing. I was like, does everybody have one of these? And so I told them about, what we do here, and like the word got out onto the MMC listserv about the fact that we have a communications committee. Other towns are thinking about implementing one. They want to see what we're offering. Someone said that we should do a presentation at, the next big MMA conference to, tell people about what the committee does, how it works, how we run.
Getting the right people.
Exactly, and that's what I told them. It was all about the right people. Touting how, knowledgeable everybody is on the committee and how we draw from all different backgrounds. And that's what's necessary in order to make the committee run. Like, you just can't have a bunch of computer tech heads in a room. Like, you need to have all the different pieces together. And it's finding those people and making it work. So that led to me being the moderator at the next MMC meeting in August, or this month.
You get a shirt.
No shirt for that either. Nobody's got any shirts in this place. So, yeah, so.
Vendors, you can pick them up.
So, yeah, so that's part of my update. So we started talking about like the ADA stuff, and the services that they could offer and everything else too, and the fees. And the question that we've been having in town, and something that Steve and I keep coming back to, is, well, how far back on the website does our documentation need to be compliant, right? Because we have minutes on our website from '89. And they clearly were typed up on a typewriter and scanned in at some point. And they've got pencil notes in the margin and everything. So how far back? And basically, it comes down to having to meet 4 criteria. And I don't have it pulled up right now, but you have to meet these 4 criteria to pick whether or not it needs to be compliant or not. And then what you do is you take all of your stuff that you're not gonna make compliant and you put it into an archive on your website. And it needs to be very clear to someone that once they get to that point, they're in the archive. Granted, anybody can go and be like, I need this documentation made for a screen reader. Like, that's their right, absolutely, and we would do that.
But you wouldn't have to do it beforehand.
but we wouldn't have to do it beforehand. So once you hit the archive section, it's clear, you can request to have things made digitized for you. So working forward, we kind of, touched on this earlier when we talked about the website, all the different stuff that we have to do in order to get it compliant, not just the PDFs and the images and everything else, it's all those other pieces too. So they were super helpful in that, and I'm probably going to come this fall have them quote, just taking a look to see what we have. I found some back-end tools on our website that have been hugely helpful, and they're what told me that we had all these pages missing, all this metadata, right? So I found back-end tools to work, but I think at some point, like just having a third party, like I know this committee plans on auditing the website, which I think is absolutely needed. We need that human touch on it. But I think also having a third party that hasn't been looking at it for a year and a half now, to come in and look at it is gonna be hugely helpful.
And plus, they're gonna look into it in detail that we're not.
Exactly,
You
yep,
know, we're not gonna drill down like they're gonna drill down.
yeah, and they have a level of knowledge that we'll never have to.
Yeah.
So also regarding ADA and the website is we have to have, we're grossly out of compliance by many years, having our ADA committee on our website, as well as a form for people filing ADA grievances against the town. And the means of putting out there for people requesting to have these things come. So you could say, I need to have a sign language interpreter come to the town meeting. Or I need a special headset for the town meeting. And if you can't get these things, how do you file the grievances? So we've been working on putting these pages together. They're kind of built in the back end, waiting for some more information from Steve and the ADA committee, which does exist. They don't have a page already. Well, they do now, it's in draft section. But getting that stuff up and onto the website. The other thing, speaking of the website, that I've been working on adding, that I'm waiting on, Doug Albertson and the select board is finishing up our Canvas stuff on the website. So
Finishing what?
the Canvas,
Okay.
for the Cannabis Control Commission, there are certain pages we are required to have on our website. There are some policies that need to be codified by the select board in order for us to put them on the website, and I believe they were hoping to get them onto the select board's agenda for later this month to review. So that is still a piece that's kind of in motion in the back end. And we talked about the branding stuff already, what I've been doing with that to work on that stuff. You heard about the facelift on the website, and then just a lot of the daily stuff, getting things posted on the website, the emergency alerts. I want to get in and finish my PIO training before we have a meeting with the chiefs. So that way I go into that conversation with a little bit more knowledge in my back pocket. And then I had, a couple articles and stuff that I need to write, when people are more back from vacation, there are things about technology and, letting people know like what we've done in the town, what we're working with, what we hope to achieve, stuff like that. We're also planning another meeting for town meeting in August, so not a town meeting, but we had a meeting that Esther had set up post-town meeting. And that's what launched this town meeting survey that we have going on right now, which I posted for, by the way. And so we're planning on having a meeting at the schools in August to kind of walk through, look at the different facilities, look at the survey results and figure out where we need to get better for the town meetings.
Are you talking the tech side or everything, or?
Everything from what worked with the League of Little Voters
Okay.
to whether or not, people need transportation there, so whether they're, people that are living on fixed income and don't have a car, or, senior citizens that just can't drive anymore, like getting people to town meeting where they need to go, so.
Well, okay.
And I think I said it last time, having that after action meeting, I think was one of the best things in the world. I mean, I missed it unfortunately, but I heard all about it. And I think doing that was highly commendable to do that and figure out where the shortfalls were and what worked, what did work, things like that. And there were a number of things that did work. And I think the biggest thing too is that I didn't notice a lot of rumbling afterwards. I don't know about you guys. I mean, some people were upset about this and that, but there weren't major groundswells of.
Who's looking at you like you heard differently?
I'm sorry?
Did you hear differently? You looked a little surprised when Ed mentioned that.
No, I stated at the last meeting that the people who were at the back of the room with the conversations and the audio system was there, they were not able to really hear as well as the people up front. But.
Yeah, but there's no, I mean, considering all the things that did go wrong, that they were able to punt and get it to work.
Oh, yeah.
You know, things like that. I think it's very commendable.
It went very smooth.
So we've had 145 people answer that survey so far. You know, ideally, we'd like to hit the 200 mark. I feel like that's like kind of a new benchmark we've established for ourselves with surveys.
Yeah.
Excuse me, seltzer. So that's been coming along. And then to that end, I created a page, belchertown.org/connect, which it just has like, it has our Facebook feed in it. And then it just has buttons like click here and you can see all the surveys we're offering. Click here if you want to find the directory. You know, click here if you want to have the suggestion box. Like, just kind of taking all these different ways that people can give us feedback and pull them into one page. So that way you don't be like, oh, if you want to put a suggestion in, go here, but if you want to take this town meeting survey, go here, or if you want to, whatever, go there. So if you see that page and you think more things need to be added, or if you have design suggestions, I'll take them. That's like the third version of it. I'm not feeling
It's not loading for me. It should work with Connect as the.
Yeah, belchertown.org/connect. Which actually, along that line too, since Emily's here, I like that you used a redirect on that, a nice easy to remember URL. But the URLs in Instagram are long, convoluted, and I don't think are effective.
Yeah.
Because you can't copy and paste them and click them. So I'm thinking, whenever you have something, if we can easily create a redirect, that makes sense, or for YouTube, for the YouTube stuff, I'd say send them just to the YouTube channel. I mean, yeah, they'd have to search for the video after that, but there's no way they're gonna retype that.
Yeah.
Long URL.
Yeah.
There might be an Instagram best practice we can look into for those too.
I'll bet there is.
A couple small questions on your reports. So one, the UMass Boston group, who is that? What's the group?
UMass Boston, it's not a group, it's two individuals there, I could give you their names.
Okay. And
So they're consultants with UMass Boston,
okay.
but I could not say that correct, could I? So one of them is, I've been talking to someone with a name very similar to them recently, so I wanna make sure I give you the right last name. Like, all of a sudden, there's a whole bunch of people with very similar names.
I think it'd be really worthwhile to do an article or a blog post on communications. I mean, just what we're talking about tonight, everything that we're doing as a group, that Kate and Emily and Allegra are doing I'm sure I can guarantee a lot of people don't know that collectively, all this work that's being done and how much things have improved as a result of all these efforts that you guys are doing.
The question always is, what media do you use to get it to the most people?
Well,
I was surprised that the Sentinel generated so many, I guess, newsletter requests.
I have to
So the newsletter or the Sentinel still seems to be a vehicle that we should be using.
I mean, it is. Unfortunately, I'm on their list because I use ChatGPT to write articles.
Oh.
When they found out that, my name went on the blacklist.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
It is tough though. I mean, how many times did Allegra have to request it and then we had to get Kate involved just to get the newsletter posted, so it's tough to use them.
But I'm thinking, certainly for our own webpage, put a blog post on our own page at least.
Yeah.
And maybe we can start shaking the trees with other media, just point to that and say, because, well, let me put this to you, Kate. If I write something for our site using Otter AI for the interviews and then chat GPT to write a first draft, which I then edit and proof, is that permissible for a blog post?
We don't have any policies in place at this point, so.
I know we don't. I'm asking you as the webmaster.
Yeah, I would absolutely, I use both of those tools in similar fashion,
Okay.
so.
Yeah.
Yes, I know that if I'm writing something for, like, so say I write an article and then I have to like rewrite it for the Sentinel, like, you know, I have the article in my head, but I'm good to retype it. That's gonna be slightly different.
Would you like me to do that? Put something together on
Are we
communications?
all over our policy already? And
I think it's worth definitely putting something together, especially if other towns are starting to look at us. I think it'll be helpful to have that information there.
so I'm a little confused. You're saying you generate an article and then don't identify it as having been used by, or?
No, he's saying the different pieces of AI that he uses to write his article, between using human touch for first draft and pulling notes from Otter, and then having it, you know, revamp it, and then final draft human touch.
So in best practices, though, you would then identify that there had been AI being used to help generate this particular piece of information. And we're not doing that. Is that what I'm hearing?
Correct, because we don't have a policy in place.
Okay.
And that's why I said, like, where does this policy come in place? Because you use it without realizing AI is used for
Well, but some stuff
spell check and images and stuff like that, but other times it's clear that something's been AI done.
Yeah.
And where is that line?
See, I think that's something that's going to go away as people get more and more, as AI gets more accepted. It's going to go away because do we say in these things, I use Microsoft Word to write this? You know?
But that's a different, if you use Microsoft Word is not manipulating what you wrote to author it with you. You're still authoring it.
It's just an electronic typewriter.
Yeah, and if you're
It's
using
more than
spell
that.
check,
We all know it's more than that.
spell check similarly, it's obviously a different level of.
Well, it also depends on what you've been enabled within Word. Like, you can have it so that it's got predictive text on. You can also have it so that the different grammar settings, so it could be like, you need to say this simpler.
Right.
You need to explain this more. Like, those are AI prompts for that.
Wow.
So their
Wow.
names are Morgan Clark.
Okay.
And the other one's Kelsey, Kelsey, Edmund, Edmond.
Okay.
There was a whole bunch of Kelseys I've talked to recently, that's why I wanted to make sure it was the right Kelsey.
Anything more?
Actually, I had one other small question for your update. So I have noticed that I think the town calendar is getting used a lot more now, is that right? Is that you doing that, or how's that happening? It's great that it's getting used.
The events calendar
Yeah.
is me.
That's great.
I have a question for you. Does the town have like a grant writer that they utilize, that they pay?
We used to have a grant writer, we do not have a grant writer anymore.
Okay.
What happened?
I don't know, we don't have a grant writer anymore.
Okay,
I was just thinking maybe behind the ADA thing, since that is something so important, maybe we could get a grant for that to have.
I have a feeling that Steve can find the money in Kevin's budget. Thanks, Kevin. He's on vacation this week too.
He was happy to do it. Yeah. Okay.
That's probably benefit him, I think. Anyways.
I have a question, Kate.
Oh, and I have a little bit more update too, sorry.
How's your workload?
I have a lot of work to do. I definitely have a lot of work to do. I had a meeting with, Steve, last week, Thursday, and, an email with Joanne, yesterday. So in filling the other front office position, so she don't have retired, in filling the other front office position, they are going to look to have, that person be able to pick up some of the low-lying tasks that I do, as well. So like, it's not bad during the summer with the town, putting up the town meetings every, the night before and everything. But once we're into the full swing and there's 5 or 6 meetings a night, 5 days a week, as you know, with your BCTV recording,
Right.
like having, that person be able to create those images and upload it and stuff like that too.
When the school year, everything comes back together.
Yep, for sure, absolutely, like just as we get more busy in our personal lives, things get more busy here too. So that's something that, little tasks like that they've added into their interviewing to help because they're looking to hire for that position, is to help me with some of those easier tasks.
Nice. Good.
And then the update that I found, is something I put on my notebook to make sure I covered all of my updates, is we are well on our way of compiling a full list of all of the town's social media channels.
Good.
So Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, a couple of things I've never heard of before. And getting all of those into Archive Social and coming into compliance with getting all of those items archived as well. And we've also identified who all the admins are on those different accounts. And then we're gonna start working through and ensuring that accounts that can have multiple admins, like you can't on Instagram, but on other channels, you can have multiple admins, ensuring that we have true date there, should somebody go on vacation or get hit by bus or what have you.
So
And that was
great
the
work.
point that you put.
Don't get hit by a bus.
I know.
So yes, so let me just double check through my notes here to make sure I covered everything. Appreciate that.
I do feel like it's not anything that's maybe urgent, but maybe figuring out the Instagram so that it's not tied to my personal one. That way, if for some reason something happens.
They have to be, it has to be, 100% has to be, cannot be changed.
Really?
Kind of what's going on with BCTV. I was the initial account and it's still tied to me.
Facebook's the same.
They need a human being.
Yeah, if, like, you can go and like link it to a non-human or like a shared email or something, but as soon as they catch on and they being mad at this, they shut it down. And we will be having to update the social media policy come this winter, you know, as part of the yearly cycle, and when we get to that point, we have to update the terminology in that and note that, you know, we have to abide by the platform's regulations, and you can't say you must use a town email address. You have to use what the platform tells you to use.
Can you,
They make
tra-
rules.
So.
Can you
other years-
transfer
other years
ownership? Can you transfer ownership of Instagram accounts?
Yes, you can transfer accounts. And they let you even for your personal one, like, you can even set up a legacy within your personal social media accounts, should something happen to you. And you have a legacy set up, your loved one could go in and be able to download your pictures and everything else.
Wait, if you can transfer accounts, wouldn't that solve whatever you're talking about with the Instagram?
Well, what if I were to like leave the committee or something and no longer do the social media, but I just meant like in general, we could transfer it out of my personal, just so it wasn't tied to it, but it doesn't sound like it's.
And the good thing is, the way Archive Social works is even though you're putting in a personal email address, it's not archiving you. It's only archiving that channel, and the message is sent to that channel, like it directly looks at that stuff. I had concerns too when I was the first one to link in, because we figured if it was gonna go wrong on anybody's, it should go wrong on mine, right? So we went and we made sure that it was working and it wasn't archiving any of my personal information, and it isn't, so.
So like the BCTV operates independently pretty much, even though it's my name.
Right.
Anything else, Pete?
No, I appreciate the breath there to talk about that stuff.
No, great job. You're doing it. You're knocking it out of the park. You really are.
Great time.
Are you still at 19 hours?
I am, and I have been able to maintain 19 hours.
Okay.
For the last, like, 2 months, I haven't gone over.
God knows how you do that.
I set up walls, barriers, compartmentalize, and I am very good about letting the town know if I'm working for a different employer when they want to set up a meeting.
Okay, moving along.
It's not here.
Yep.
Okay,
I was Joanne's up here.
okay, so we have two items on, that were placeholders, and we kind of did this before, when 2.5 started kicking off. So we didn't forget about them. And I guess the question is, do we want to keep them as placeholders for now, given everything else that's going on, or do we need to move them up, or what?
Is there any chance we're gonna be talking about them anytime soon, I guess is my question.
Well, that's,
Well, they both came up in today's conversation.
Then why not keep them? They're just a little bit ink.
okay. So the two items are emergency communications team and website review. The emergency communications team is one that I kind of raised to the top. And Kate, you're kind of going through that right now with the PIO tree.
Yeah.
Putting that together. And the reason I said a team was, you know, well, first of all, if Kate's not around, who's little Kate, takes care of stuff. And the second thing is if it's a major incident, that's more than one person, what do we do there and that sort of stuff?
But also like even, if it's, who's the redundancies at all the different departments?
Right.
And should we get into a major emergency that lasts several weeks and stuff like that too? And I'm certainly gonna bring that up, when we have our meeting, as we talk about, because this meeting is very specific, talking about how and when to use the alert system. And then from there, I am gonna bring up that, hey, we had these conversations back when there was snow on the ground.
Mhm.
Can we talk about it again before it snows again?
Well, I guess this kind of raises the question too, since you're almost forming a de facto emergency communications team, because you have people in each department now that, have access to the alert system and things like that. And my original concept was we around this table may comprise that emergency communications team. Is that perhaps no longer an appropriate
I think
model?
I wouldn't rule it out at this point because we don't know what is in John's emergency plan
Sure.
and what that looks like. And I think that is,
By John, she means the fire chief.
yes, John, the fire chief. Because if we don't know what's in there and what he may or may not need from a communications person,
Mhm.
and we don't also know how communications is covered in that either.
Right.
So maybe that's like the first step, is how are communications covered in the emergency plan?
Okay.
And are they covered in depth enough? So we had, and that's funny that you brought that up, so, I've been running campaigns to get people to sign up for, to get alerts and everything, and I had one woman that was rather upset that she would have to get an alert to her phone in an emergency. I pointed out that she could sign up online and she could have her landline ring in her house in the event of emergency, and she really thinks the town should be covered in sirens.
I was gonna say, how else would she get it?
Well,
But we also did talk about sirens when we had, the Red Cross sent to do training earlier this year and
it's a
activating the
very
sirens.
50s kind of notification system.
Yeah, that's a bygone sort of thing.
Yeah.
But I mean, in some emergency scenarios, recently in Texas, they've been talking about why they didn't have sirens. So.
Yeah.
They didn't have anything.
Well,
But that's something that we said we could look at activating in the town back when we had the meeting with the Red Cross earlier this year. So, what kind of communication steps are being put in place? And I guess like the communications committee maybe needs to take maybe you need to set another meeting, Ed, with John after we talk about the alert system and see if you can pull out some information about how emergency communications are gonna be handled and make sure that we're hitting it, not only with their best practices, as they know as emergency professionals, but what we know as best practices as communication professionals and making sure we're gonna get everybody.
I love getting Amber Alerts. I really, not so much love getting them, but knowing them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Website review, we kind of touched upon that too. The idea behind that was we would take a look at the website, identify inconsistencies, identify glaring problem areas, not do the deep dive like you had talked about UMass doing or somebody like that, because we don't have the time and we don't have the expertise to do something like that. And the idea was trying to nudge as many people as possible into compliance. What's your feelings on that? Is that still a worthwhile endeavor to have on our wish list there?
I think it is. And I think especially for the human touch, like you talked about, like with the About Town page, like I think having people look at our website and review it and someone be able to come back and be like, we talk about the town history in these 5 different locations, but no one covers the years from, 1940 to 1965. And can we consolidate all these pages and fill in black holes? Like stuff like that, or just even like, go on there and be like, hey, I want to apply for, for a building permit. Can I easily do that on the website? You know what I mean? Like come up with questions, things you might want to know about town and review it with that lens. Like, do I know how to register my kid for school? Do I know that Belchertown.org links to BelchertownPS.org and that's where I find out school information? You know what I mean? Like, think about it like if you were a citizen coming to the page and you wanted to open a business in town. Would you be able to find what you need?
In theory, of course, there is an AI device that will help you query for these things on a website.
So the question I have, okay, if we feel well, actually both items are still good, given the workload that you're under, given that we're doing as a committee, I mean, I like to push back on these in terms of, how much can we do?
Yeah,
That sort of thing.
I think honestly, like, if it was pushed into 26 as something that can be wrapped in as, because, essentially every page on the website is gonna get touched, going through, getting everything compliant, right? So if we were able to do the audit in 26 and be able to start filling in those gaps as we go, so that way it's just part of the workflow of getting the website this big, robust thing. I think that would make sense.
Okay.
As opposed to like getting through all the ADA stuff and then coming back and being like, oh, let's see what we can find and fix now. Like, whereas we could have tackled it all at the same time, because why touch the page 3 times if you can just touch it once or twice?
Yeah, I mean,
That's my thought.
given everything that we're doing, I like pushing it off, to be honest with you. There's no screaming need for it right now,
Yeah, I think,
because we're all doing a lot. We're all doing a whole lot.
Mhm.
And we're all volunteers. So, I'm reluctant to, I'm always the guy that has a great idea, but then, implementing it is another thing there, So, and we can talk about it more in depth in the next meeting when Chris is here on it.
I would definitely be in favor of a bookmark until sometime in 26.
Additional items for discussion, topics not reasonably anticipated by the chair. Does anybody have anything they want to bring up that's burning issue? Okay, public comment. I don't know, I guess that might relate to John and Nicole, although John is a liaison. You guys have anything you want to throw in here into the meeting?
Nope, I'm good. Thank you.
Okay.
I'm good, thank you. You guys are doing a great job. Keep it up. I appreciate all the intel, especially with the AI stuff you guys are working on. It's amazing for the town. Thank you.
Can we get some t-shirts?
I think they're at Stop and Shop. They sell t-shirts.
Yeah.
That's
We really do appreciate you guys attending too. That's great to have you here. We really do appreciate that. Okay, deliberate next meeting time. Everybody pull out your calendars.
We're looking for second week in August on a Tuesday.
I'm on vacation.
Okay.
You can take this.
Only 19 hours.
Okay, so Kate, you're off 11 to 13.
Yep.
Um,
Actually, and then the 14th is that conference I'm going to, so
Okay.
that whole week is pretty much shot.
Do we want to push it to Tuesday the 19th?
I have no problem.
I do have one question for the Chronics. I don't know if they reached out to the fair committee or anything. I know they were looking to post stuff on the site. And I don't know if we can post stuff for the fair in the Chronics. That's just a question I had, I guess.
Posted in the what?
In the newsletter, the Belchertown Chronicle?
Oh, okay.
Yeah, the newsletter. If you could reach out to the fair committee. I don't know if that's something that would be good or not.
I think we need to reach out to them holistically. I think they just need quote unquote marketing help in general.
All right, yeah, noted. We will do
I
that.
agree.
Um,
7 p.m. 19
Tuesday
August
the
on the
19th.
table.
Okay. I will check for room availability. How's this room work for everybody? It's okay?
It's fine.
Um,
It has a table, we can put things on it.
Is internet?
Yeah.
And with that, I will take a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Uh,
Okay. Thank you, everybody.
How do you do it?